Welcome to Literature with Rajeshwari Kalyanam. I come back after a longish small break, but I come to you with a very beautiful book. It's a Japanese bestseller written by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. Yes, Before the Coffee Gets Cold, that's the name of the book. In fact, the book is based on an award-winning play, and the narrative actually reminds you, immediately takes you into this cafe, which is a basement cafe. Last year I had read this book by Pico Iyer, Autumn Light, Season of Fire and Farewells, and basically the book takes you in a very interesting narrative that Pico Iyer is known for here to the land of Japan during the months when there are blooms everywhere and it's a beautiful season, and he brings to you not just the sights and sounds of the place, but he also brings to you the legends, the belief system of the people and how they live, their families, and it's a very interesting book. And incidentally, I also had a chance to go to Japan that same year for a conference, but it was during a very wrong season, and of course I couldn't go to all those beautiful places mentioned in Pico Iyer's book. Yet that was my first glimpse of Japan. Quite interestingly, since the last few months there have been quite a few books from Japan. In fact, I would bring to you some other books also in the next few editions. Coming back to the book, Before the Coffee Gets Cold, the protagonist of the book, Fumiko, is an IT professional, and she is just going to have a conversation with her boyfriend Goro, and is expecting that he would propose a marriage to her, but incidentally he tells her that he has plans of traveling to America the very next day, and they part in a very unpleasant way, and it's a proper formal breakup, and she wants to correct it. She wishes that she could go back and change the whole narrative, and that is when she remembers a legend about the cafe, which has people believe that sitting in the cafe one could travel back in time. And as I said earlier, Japan is also a land of legends, beliefs. And in this book, we follow 4 different people trying to travel back in time. One wants to meet the loved one. The other one wants to receive a letter from her husband, who in his later years suffers from Alzheimer's and has forgotten the past, and has also he had wanted to give a letter, and the wife for some reason could not see it, and she wants to see and read what he would have said to her at that time. Interestingly, we all know there's not much we can do or change in the past, from the past, and this book is more or less on the same premise. However, it's interesting to see what these people do when they really get to go and travel back in time. I want to read a small extract. It's a very small, tiny extract from the book, which kind of gives a peek into the narrative style of the book. Here it goes. A small extract from the book Before the Coffee Gets Cold, published by Pan Macmillan, written by Toshikazu Kawaguchi, an award-winning playwright. Look, I want you to listen, and listen carefully, okay? What? Fumiko's body tensed up. You can go back. It's true. You can go back, but when you go back, no matter how hard you try, the present won't change. The present won't change? This was something Fumiko was totally unprepared for, something she couldn't take in. Hey, she said loudly without thinking. Kazu calmly continued explaining. Even if you go back to the past and tell your boyfriend who went to America how you feel, even if I tell him how I feel, the present won't change. What? Not wanting to hear, Fumiko desperately covered her ears. But Kazu casually went on to say the words that she least wanted to hear. It won't change the fact that he's gone to America. A trembling sensation swept through her entire body. Yet, with what seemed like a ruthless disregard for her feelings, Kazu continued with her explanation. Even if you return to the past, reveal your feelings and ask him not to go, it won't change the present. Fumiko reacted impulsively to Kazu's cold, hard words. That sort of defeats the purpose, don't you think? She said defiantly. Easy now, let's not shoot the messenger, Hirai said. She took a drag of a cigarette and seemed unsurprised by Fumiko's reaction. Why? Fumiko asked Kazu, her eyes begging for answers. Why? I'll tell you why. Kazu began. Because that's the rule. Well, that's the end of the extract, and I hope you liked the style of writing. I loved it. So let's hope this gets into your reading list. And I was responding to one of the book challenges which asked everyone rather to post a book that they have read which is less than 100 pages. Now, which book would be so small? A novel would need a lengthier format to pack in the right amount of emotion, story, a beginning and end, and make it and a whole narrative that to make it memorable. I think 100 pages would hardly be enough. I was at loss until I chanced upon my favorite, Ruskin Bond, and his book Looking for the Rainbow. Who does not know dear old Rusty? Born in pre-independent India and having spent the growing up years in Dehradun, New Delhi and Shimla, and he has also been for a brief period in England. Ruskin Bond wrote the famous book The Room on the Roof, which made him popular, and then he went on to write like amazing stories, memoirs, and more than 500 short stories, essays, novellas. And of course he has received many awards, and especially for his children's books. I'm sure people who have visited Missouri would know the famous bookstore, the Cambridge bookstore. Well, in fact, I tried meeting him there, but I missed it. But of course, I got to meet him at Jaipur Literature Festival in 2017, and I was extremely lucky and happy to listen to him talk, and he is as interesting and intriguing to listen to as he is in his books. And, coming back to the book, which is less than 100 pages, Looking for the Rainbow, My Years with Daddy, that book was published in 2017. In the book, Ruskin Bond looks back at his memories with his father. He lost his father when he was still a very young kid, but remembers vividly the few years that he spent with him. And it was his father who introduced him to the world of books, to history, to places, to geography. He tells about his father. Not many fathers are capable of tenderness towards their children. They are usually too busy earning a living for their family, or that's the excuse. So I was lucky to have a father who gave me nearly all his spare time, who brought me books, took me for walks, shared his interest with me, and held my hand in the dark. Well, the man in his 80s, he's in his 80s now, does not need hundreds of pages. In fact, the book runs into like less than 100 pages if you consider all the pictures, the beautiful pictures that he has, because it's of course for children. But I think any grown up would love to read his Ruskin Bond. And the book also talks about he losing his father. In addition to, of course, that 1 year he spends in New Delhi with his father, which he calls the best year of his life. And you feel his happiness, his excitement, his fun, his terrible loss in the end. And that's what Ruskin Bond is for you. He can pack in all the necessary prerequisites of a novel, of a novella in 90 odd pages, and still make a great story out of it. He will be one writer we will never get tired of reading.